Here's why Alicent Hightower turned against Rhaenyra in the Queen's chambers. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you love House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, and deep dives into Westerosi lore. Let's begin. The day friendship died. In House of the Dragon, few relationships are as tragic and as central as the bond between Alicent Hightower and Rhaenyra Targaryen. Once inseparable, they shared laughter, secrets, and sisterly affection within the walls of the Red Keep. They were supposed to be allies against the venomous politics of King's Landing. But all of that came crashing down in one devastating confrontation, the infamous Queen's Chambers scene. It was here that Alicent Hightower, the once loyal friend, revealed that she had turned against Rhaenyra. And it was here that one of the most heartbreaking personal betrayals in Westeros history played out. Not just between two women, but between two futures. Today, we will uncover why Alicent turned against Rhaenyra in that very moment. We'll dive into their shared history, Alicent's transformation from friend to rival, and how that single clash in the Queen's chambers sealed the fate of the Targaryen dynasty. The friendship that once was. Before they were enemies, Alicent and Rhaenyra were the closest of companions. Alicent, the daughter of the ambitious hand of the king, Otto Hightower, was brought to court as a dutiful young woman, educated, graceful, and wise beyond her years. Rhaenyra, meanwhile, was the spirited princess, adored by her father King Viserys I, but often lonely and misunderstood. In each other, they found what the other lacked. Alicent offered Rhaenyra stability, comfort, and discretion. Rhaenyra gave Alicent freedom, laughter, and rebellion against duty. Their bond was so deep that many at court whispered about how inseparable they were. They spent hours in the Red Keep's libraries, shared secrets in hushed voices, and comforted each other during their most vulnerable moments. But in Westeros, even the purest friendship is no match for politics. The seeds of distrust. The first cracks in their friendship began with King Viserys. After the death of Queen Aemma, Otto Hightower seized an opportunity. He pushed Alicent, his own daughter, toward the grieving king. And whether through genuine affection or calculated obedience to her father's wishes, Alicent began spending more time alone with Viserys. When Viserys eventually took Alicent as his queen, Rhaenyra was devastated. It wasn't simply jealousy, it was betrayal. To her, Alicent had not only taken her father's hand, but also replaced her late mother in a role Rhaenyra had not yet healed from losing. From that moment on, their bond changed. What was once innocent friendship became a quiet rivalry, fueled by unspoken wounds. And when Alicent began to have children, sons who could one day challenge Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, the rift between them grew into something much darker. Rhaenyra's scandal. By the time the Queen's Chambers confrontation occurred, the tension between Alicent and Rhaenyra had reached a boiling point. Rhaenyra's alleged relationship with Ser Harwin Strong gave Alicent and her allies ammunition. The Queen saw it not only as a moral failing, but also as a direct threat to the stability of the realm. To Alicent, Rhaenyra was flaunting her position as heir while placing the dynasty at risk with what Alicent considered bastard-born heirs. But it wasn't just about politics. For Alicent, this scandal was personal. In her eyes, she had sacrificed everything for duty, her youth, her freedom, even her friendship with Rhaenyra. And what did she see in return? Rhaenyra living with reckless abandon, mocking the very rules Alicent had been forced to obey. This wasn't simply a political disagreement. It was a clash of two worldviews. Alicent, the dutiful queen, bound by tradition and morality. Rhaenyra, the defiant heir, bound only by her own will and her father's favor. Their friendship had turned into a mirror, each woman resenting what she saw reflected in the other. The Queen's Chambers. And then came the breaking point. In the infamous Queen's Chambers confrontation, Alicent confronted Rhaenyra directly. The tension in that room wasn't just political, it was raw, personal, and filled with years of unspoken pain. Alicent's words cut like steel, her accusations, her judgment, her visible anger. This was no longer the girl who had once held Rhaenyra's hand while they whispered secrets in the halls of the Red Keep. This was a queen demanding accountability. And in that moment, Alicent made her choice. She turned against Rhaenyra, not just as queen, but as a woman who believed she had been wronged one too many times. The Queen's Chamber's confrontation was the death of their friendship. From that day forward, they were no longer two women bound by shared history. They were rivals bound for war. Why Alicent turned? So, why did Alicent turn against Rhaenyra in that moment? 1. Betrayal of trust. Alicent still carried the wound of marrying Viserys and the unspoken guilt that came with it. But in her mind, it was Rhaenyra who had failed her. She believed Rhaenyra never forgave her, never understood the duty that had been forced upon her. 2. Moral outrage. To Alicent, Rhaenyra was becoming a symbol of everything dangerous about unrestrained power. Her alleged affairs, her defiance of convention. These were not just personal choices, they were political risks. Alicent feared that Rhaenyra's rule would plunge the realm into chaos. 3. Maternal instinct. More than anything, Alicent was a mother. Her children, Aegon, Aemond, and Helena, were her entire world. When she looked at Rhaenyra, she didn't just see a rival. She saw a threat to her children's lives. The throne wasn't just a seat of power anymore. It was a shield for her family. 4. Otto Hightower's influence. We cannot forget Otto. Alicent's father fanned the flames of her distrust. He whispered in her ear, convincing her that Rhaenyra's very existence as heir would destroy their house. Otto's manipulation turned Alicent's hurt feelings into hardened resolve. The emotional breakdown. What makes this betrayal so devastating is that Alicent wasn't purely wrong. In her own mind, she wasn't betraying Rhaenyra. She was protecting her family, her legacy, and even the realm. But underneath all the duty and politics was a broken heart. That moment in the Queen's chambers wasn't just about power, it was about pain. Alicent was a woman who had lost her friend, lost her youth, and lost any chance of living life for herself. And when she saw Rhaenyra, bold, unrepentant, and untouchable, something inside her finally snapped. In a way, Alicent's betrayal was as much an act of grief as it was an act of ambition. The aftermath of the Queen's chambers. There was no going back. Alicent committed herself fully to the Greens, aligning with her father and preparing for the day Viserys would die. When that day came, Alicent did not hesitate. She moved swiftly, locking down the Red Keep, crowning Aegon, and turning former friendships into battle lines. The Queen's Chambers was not merely an argument. It was the birth of the Dance of the Dragons. It was the moment Alicent stopped seeing Rhaenyra as a friend or even as a rival. From that day forward, Rhaenyra was the enemy. But perhaps the truth is more complicated. Alicent was not just a queen, and Rhaenyra was not just an heir. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a WWE breakdown.